Trigonometry class. So again, my name is Jafaru Sado Abdullahi. So I spelled there, Sado Jafaru Abdullahi is my name, and we're going to carry on with our trigonometric class. Right. So at the end of this lesson, we should be able to, one, understand the use of calculator, two, solve trigonometric equations, trigonometric problems, how we use calculators in solving trigonometric problem, how we play around the calculator so that we're able to use it effectively in solving trigonometric sums, and also to find ratios when angles are given. To find ratios, yesterday we talked about the three trigonometric ratios, the sine, the cosine, and the tangent. So now, when we are given ratios, how do we calculate the angles? And also should be able to know at the end of today's lesson, how to find angles when ratios are given. Okay, and also, we should also be able to know special angles. We're going to talk about special angles as well today. All right. So, first of all, we need to first of all understand how to use calculator in doing most of some of the maths, some aspect of mathematics. We'll be told not to use the calculator, but at the same time, in some other aspects, we'll be allowed to use calculator, and it is very important for us to be able to know how to use the calculator very well, very effectively. So we need to learn how to use the calculator in solving this trigonometric problem. For example, evaluate the following trigonometric ratios, round off to 2 decimal places where necessary. So for example, you have to find cos of 30. So you should be able to, on your calculator, know where your cos is. You are on calculator, you got the all three ratios, you got the cos, the sine, and the tan. So you should be able to find your cos 30, cos 35, and approximate it to 2 decimal places. Just punch cos 35 equals to, you get your answer, cos 36, tan 36, you can do that as well. Just punch your calculator and get your answer, then put in 2 decimal places. Same applies to sine 83. Punch it, you're going to get your answer, and then sine 43. Also cos 14 and tan 45. Right. So if you look at 5 cos 60, so you just have to press 5, then punch cos 60, then get your answer. And in this case, you should be able to use the button that gives you fraction, and on the top we put your sine 12 over 12, and then you simplify this. All right. So like for example, if you have to punch this, how do you punch this? Use your fraction button where we have 1 over 3, and then you punch your 1036, and then you get your answer. So the same thing applies to the rest of them. All right. So we say your cos 35 in 2 decimal places will be 0.82 in 2 decimal places, and your tan 36 will give you 0.73, sine 83 will give you 0.99, sine 43 will give you 0.68 in 2 decimal places, cos 14, and tan 45 being 1. So again, 5 cos 60, we say punch 5, then we punch your cos 60, and that's equals to, punch your equals to give you 2.5, 2.50. Okay. And then in this case, you're saying you first have to start off with your fraction button, and then you punch your sine 12, and then at the denominator, you put your 12, then put your answer, you get 0.02. So you should just try this to make sure. So what we're doing this so that you should be able to know how to play around with your calculator while doing trigonometric sums. Also, you got 1 over 3 tan 60. We said use your fraction button for 1 over 3, then multiply by, between 1 over 3 and tan 36 is multiply. So multiply tan 60, or simply you can just put 1 over 3 tan 60 degree, you get 0.24. So the same thing applies to this. And as well, if you have this, you punch it the way it's easier. Sine 35 plus 75, you punch it the way it is written here. So that should give you 0.94. But you must understand that if you do sine 35 plus sine 75, you will not get such answer. Okay. you wouldn't get such answer. If you do time 45, all right. If you do sine 35 and sine 75, you get 1,54. I want to emphasize on that. First of all, if you do sine 35 plus 75 as written here, so that will give you 0,94. All right. So basically, just saying sine 110. If we add this together, you should have 110. So if you say sine 110, you should have 0,94. Right. But it's different when you write it as sine 35 plus sine 75. If you do sine 35 plus sine 75, then you get 1,54. You get 1,54. So which is different from your 0,45. So we are saying that in trigonometry, it is important to note that sine 35 plus 75 is not the same as sine 35 plus sine 75. That okay? So that is an important thing to know. Okay. Now on the next slide, we want to see determine the decimal value of the following if A is 23,8 degree and B is 18,1 degree. Round off to one decimal place. This is the question now. Determine the decimal value of the following if A equals to, if angle A is 23,8, B is 18,1 degree. Now find the value of sine A plus B. So all you need to do, substitute your value of A, 23,8 plus 18,1, and then you punch that. So you put your sine 23,8 plus 18,1, and then that gives you sine 41,9, and they can punch your answer to get what? Your answer is 0,667. 0,667. Yeah, 0,667. And then the B now. B saying must find the value of tan 2B. Calculate the value of tan 2B and round off your answer to one decimal place, tan 2B. What does this mean, tan 2B? So tan, and then given that B is 18,1. So basically going to say tan of 2 times 18,1. All right, you just substitute your value of B in. You'll have tan 2 into 18,1, which is the same thing as saying tan of 36,2. Tan 36,2, right? Tan 36,2. Right, so if you find tan 36,2, then give you 0,7318, which you can approximate to in one decimal place as 0,7. And again, let's see again, we got to do cos of 2a minus 10. Cos of 2a minus 10, right? Cos of 2a minus 10, how do you do that? Cos of 2a minus 10. Okay, so given that cos squared of 2a minus 10, first of all, what does this mean, cos squared? What's the meaning of this word, cos squared? This is read as cos squared 2a minus 10. That is how it is being read. So what does it mean, cos squared 2a minus 10? So it implies what? Cos 2a minus 10 multiplied by cos 2a minus 10. Right. So this again is read cos squared 2a minus 10. So what does it imply? For example, it's just like saying 3 squared. So 3 squared, for example, is 9, meaning 3 times 3. Okay. So in this case here is read cos squared 2a minus 10. So what does that mean? It implies that what? That implies that what? Right, that implies that you must do what? Cos 2a minus 10 multiplied by cos 2a minus 10. All right. So now, given that a is 23,8, giving a as 23,8 degrees, so find cos squared 2a minus 10. So substitute your a in, substitute your 23,8 in for your a. We have cos squared bracket 2 times 23,8 minus 10. Okay, then you need to simplify the bracket first. You need to simplify the content of your bracket. Don't forget your BODMAS. All right, so now I have 2 times 23,8 more, subtract 10. And then that will give you 47,6. So subtract 10, that'll give you 37,6. And then we need to find cos squared of 37,6. So cos squared of 37,6 implies what? cos of 36.6 multiplied by cos of 37.6. That is the implication of the cos squared. Or better still, we can write it also in this form. Taking the square outside the bracket, doing what? In your calculator, you punch cos, first put bracket, then cos 37.6, then close the bracket, then you have your square. Understand? So understand this, it means what? Cos squared, it means you are doing the same, you are multiplying this amount in two folds. Cos 37.6 multiplied by cos 37.6. All right. And when you do that, and then you're going to get what? When you do that, you're going to have 0.627. And then in one decimal place, it's going to give you 0.6. All right. So that is another thing to learn. So basically, we need to learn how to manipulate this. It sounds easy, but it's very important as grade 10 learners to do all these things. I mean, to punch it on by yourself and see how it works out. All right. So on the next slide, we want to see now how to solve simple trigonometric equations. Solving simple trigonometric equations. For example, determine the size of an acute angle theta. Again, determine the size of an acute angle theta in each of the following trigonometric ratios. We should find the angle of theta now in a trigonometric equation of this nature. Round off your answer to one decimal place where necessary. So we have cos theta equals to 0.5. Cos theta equals to 0.5. So the question is, calculate the value of your theta. What is the value of your theta? What is the theta value? If cos theta equals to 0.5. So what do we do? How do we find theta in this case? To find theta, all you need to do is to transpose what? The cos. Transpose the ratio. So we have what? Theta equals to the cos inverse of 0.5. Cos inverse of 0.5. I'm sure you know how to do that. To do that, press your shift function in your calculator and then press cos. Then you're going to appear on it cos to the power of -1, which we call the cos inverse. And then you punch 0.5. Right. So again, to find theta here, you need to move this cos to the other side so that you can get your theta. And then in that case, we are doing what? Cos inverse. So cos inverse of 0.5, and then that will be equals to 60 degrees. Okay, right. Then the same thing here, you should find the value of theta, determine the size of the acute angle theta. So to find our theta here, the same way we find the inverse, the tan inverse, you move the tan over. You move the tan over, so theta will be what? The tan inverse of 4 minus 4,123, which we say we punch what? Shift on your calculator on the top left corner of your calculator. So you punch shift, then tan, and then to appear on your calculator times power -1, then you punch 4,123, and then that'll give you the value of your theta. Okay, so number 3, if we have 2 sine theta equals to 1,124, the question is find the value of theta. What is the value of theta if 2 sine theta equals to this amount? So how are you going to do that? So first you have to move these two first. First, you have to move these two away first. You have to transpose these two. You have to move this to the other side. You have to divide both sides by 2. Right. So if you do that, you're going to have what? Sine theta equals to 1,124 divided by 2. All right. And then after doing that, then you now have to find your theta by finding the sine inverse of your answer. Okay. So when you have equations like this, the first thing to do is to move your 2 away. You need to move your 2 away by dividing both sides by 2. Then you're going to have sine theta equals to 1,124 divided by 2, which will give you 0.562. All right, 0.562 precisely. And then you find the sine inverse. To find the theta now, then you move the sine now. So to find the sine inverse of 0.562, and then you get your value of your theta, then you can round it off to 1 decimal place. All right. So question 4, if you got questions of this nature, question 4 like this. So how do we find the value of theta in this case? The value of your theta, what do you do? So the first thing to move here, you need to first of all move away your sine first. All right. you need to first of all move away your sine. This sine has to go away first. All right, meaning you need to find the sine inverse. You need to find a sine inverse of this value first. You need to move this sine over, finding the sine inverse of this. So once you get the sine inverse of that, then in degree, that will give you the degree. Just point shift sine 0,435 equal, then get to answer. So it's going to be 2 theta equals to that amount. Then to now find your theta, then you divide by 2 to find the value of your theta. Okay. Right. So again, in this case, in this kind of question, you first have to divide by 2. These 2 here must go away first. The 2 must go away first. Right. But in this case, your sine here must go away first. You must first find your sine inverse first. So move your sine this way, you find your sine inverse, and then after you get your sine inverse in degree, then you divide by 2. Right, to give you your theta value. Right. Question 5. You need to find the value of theta here. Sorry, there is theta here. Here you have got it as theta. Yeah, then as theta. So to find the value of theta here, what do we do? Right, what do you do? Your theta here, this value is theta, okay. So to find the value here, what do? So the 1, you first have to transpose first. You need to transpose your 1 first, meaning you move the 1 to the other side. First subtract the 1. So we have about 2 cos theta is equals to 2 minus 356. 2 cos theta equals to 2,356 minus 1. And that will give you 2 cos theta be 1,356. All right. So first of all, you need to move this 1 over first and minus it from here. So when you do that, then you have to then divide by 2. All right. Then you have to first then divide by 2. So when you divide by 2, then we have what? We left with cos theta, and then you can find your cos inverse. Okay, let's see how that looks like. Okay. So on this line, we're saying if cos theta equals to 0,5, so what will be our theta now? So simply just find your cos inverse here. So find cos inverse of 0,5, and what? Theta equals to 60 degrees. I did explain to you how you find this in your calculator. You point your shift cos, and this one shows up 0,5, that gives you 60 degrees. Number 2, to find your theta here, what do? You just simply put your what? You find your tan inverse. Move your tan over. So your theta will be the tan inverse of 4,123, and that gives you theta equals to 76,4 degrees. All right. And then the third one, so if you have 2 sine theta equals to 1,124. So you need to find this theta angle, this angle theta here. How do you find it? You think the first thing to do is to move these 2 away first. Move these 2 away, move to the other side, divide both sides by 2. So if you divide both sides by 2, you're going to have sine theta equals to 0,562. All right. So after getting 0,562, then you have to find your sine inverse. Point your shift sine 0,562, and then that will give you 34,2. All right. Okay. And then for the number 4 question, all right, for the number 4 question that says sine 2 theta equals to 0,435. 0,435, we must find the value of our theta. How do you find the value of our theta here? We're saying the first thing to do, you first have to find your sine inverse. First have to move this sine away. Because you wanted the theta, the sine has to go first. So that means your 2 theta equals to the sine inverse of what is 0,435. So you point shift sine 0,435, and that will give you an angle in degree. You're going to get this amount in degree. If you punch sine 135, okay, there's the angle in degree. All right. And then after that, you then have to do what? Divide both sides by 2. So to find your theta, then you have to divide both sides by 2. Then you're going to have 25,78529 divided by 2. And that will give you 12,9 degree in 1 decimal place. All right. So lastly, on the 51, we need to solve for theta here or our x. We need to solve for x here. How are you going to solve for x here? So what do you do? You're saying the first thing to do, once it's a plus or minus, this term here, this one term, we first have to move. We need to transpose it. So you want to move it to this side there first. Then be left it 2 cos bracket x plus 10 equals to 2,356 minus 1. And that will give you 1,356. Next, divide by 2. Move these 2 away by dividing both sides by 2. We're going to divide this amount by 2, then we're going to have 0,678. So then you're going to have what? Cos x plus 10 equals to 0,678. Next, what do we do next? The cos we then have to go. So the cos we have to go by transposing it, find the cos inverse of what? 0,678. So find the cos inverse of that amount, then you'll be left with x plus 10. So x plus 10 because the cos inverse of 0,678. So when you do that, then you will have what? We have x plus 10 equals to 47,3124. 3124. Okay, so find the cos inverse of this amount, you get this amount. You can punch it out your calculator, you're going to find that that's true. But we're doing this lesson for you to learn how to use your calculator. You need to plan, you need to practice this on your own, and then punch all these things and see if it works for you. And then during your exam, then you'll be able to do that while you are in the exam hall. So it's not enough to listen to it, but to demonstrate it and see how it works. Okay, so to find our x or our theta, as the case may be, then you have to move it 10 over. Then I'm going to say x equals to 47,3142, 3124 minus 10, and then in one decimal place, you get 37,3. All right, so that's how we solve trigonometric equations. So what we're saying basically is if you have two terms, so the first one, for example, this one, we first have to move, then the 2 then goes, then the cos then move. Okay, and lastly, the 10 we move to find your theta here. I'm sure you understand. I hope you understand. All right. So next, we're going to look at special angles now. Now we're going to look at special angles now. So what in trigonometric questions, they will always give you question and tell you without using calculator, find the value of a particular expression without using calculator. How do you find the value of an expression without using calculator? So in trigonometry, you mainly get this kind of question. All right. So in that regard, you need to memorize, you need to know your special angles. So far we have dealt with when you're using calculators, when you have to punch your calculators and then get to answer and then maybe approximate it to 2 decimal or 1 decimal places using calculator. But we're saying in the other aspect of trigonometry, you'll be told that without using calculator, find the value of a particular expression or a particular angle without using calculator. All right, so such kind of angle will usually be a special angle. We refer to it as special angles. We refer to it as special angles. So special angles, we talk about angles that are 30 degrees. 30-degree angle is special angle. 60-degree angle is special angle. 45-degree angle, they are special angles. All right, these are the common special angles. Also, we have 0, we have 90, we have 180. These are also special angles, but more important of them is angle 30, angle 60, and angle 45. Okay, now, so because we're going to have to solve questions without calculator, and usually those questions will usually be of special angle nature. So you need to know how to, the values of the special angle. So to learn that is to learn this triangle here. To learn this triangle here. So this triangle, we will use it for special angle 30 degrees and 60 degrees. Right. We use it for angle 30 degrees and 60 degrees. So how do we get it? You say is what? 1, 1, 2, 2, root 3. Again, 1, 1, 2, 2, root 3. So draw your triangle, put a vertical line in between the triangle, then you have 1, 1, 2, 2, root 3. So you just need to memorize that. So this angle here will be 60 degrees. By this angle here, put here 60 degree, also here 60 degree. And this will be 30, there will be 30 degree. All right. because everything must, and then here is your 90 degree. You must know that. Here will be your 90 degree. So you have 60 here, you have 30 here, you have 90 here, okay. Now we have two triangles, but basically we need to use one out of the two. So we actually needed one and not the two of them. So basically we are looking at triangle ABD. We have triangle ABD. Let's keep two triangle A, B, and D. So with this triangle A, B, and D, we can find our sine of 60 degrees, our cos of 60 degrees, our tan of 60 degrees. As well, we can find sine of 30 degrees, sine of cos of 30 degrees, and tan of 40 degrees of cos of 30 degrees without our calculator. For example, now, if you have to find sine 60 degrees, what is sine 60 degree here? Yesterday, we talked about the sine, the trig ratios, the sine, the cosine, and the tangent, where we talked about the SOHCAHTOA, where we say sine is opposite over hypotenuse, cos is adjacent to hypotenuse, and tan is what opposite over adjacent, where we talk about SOHCAHTOA. So in this case as well, if you have to find sine 60, so sine 60 will be what your opposite root 3 over hypotenuse 2. Your sine 60 will be what? Root 3 over 2. So if you punch your calculator sine 60, you're going to come as what? Root 3 over 2. So we're saying we're not going to allow you to use calculator. You need to memorize these special angles, angle 60, angle 30, and angle 45. So you need to know that sine 60 degree is what? Root 3 over 2. Then what is cos 60? Cos 60, cos is adjacent over hypotenuse. So in this our triangle ABD, what about adjacent? Considering our angle 60 degree. So our adjacent will be what? 1. Our hypotenuse will be what? 2. And then root 3 is our opposite. So if you have to find cos 60 degrees. So cos 60 degrees will be what? Adjacent, which is what? 1 over hypotenuse, root 1 over 2. Basically, our cos 60 degrees is what? 1 over 2, which is half. Right, that's our cos 60 degrees. So if you put your calculator cos 60, it will give you 1 over 2. Right, and then let's find tan 60 degree now. What will be our tan 60 degree? Tan is opposite over adjacent, SOHCAHTOA. So the tan is opposite over adjacent. So what will be tan 60 degree without calculator? Without calculator, what is tan 60 degree? So quickly, you try to redraw this on your question paper so that you can be able to determine it. So you just need to memorize this as it's easier. And then in case you need it, you quickly write it on a question paper, and then from there you can determine what you need to determine. So say you need to find tan 60 degree now. So tan is opposite over adjacent. So our opposite is what? Root 3, and adjacent is what? 1. So tan 60 degree is what? Root 3 over 1, which is basically root 3. I hope you understand. So that is tan 3 is root 3, or root 3 over 1. So now let's talk about 30 now, and that special angle 30 degree. So what is sine 30 degree? So 30 degree is here. So if our 30 degree is here, automatically this side be our opposite. This will be opposite side. This is always our hypotenuse, is the side facing your angle 90 degrees, and it will be adjacent because we are looking at this angle 30 degree. This is our opposite side. So in case you need to find sine 30 degrees, so sine 30 degree be what? Opposite 1 over hypotenuse. Remember, sine is opposite to hypotenuse. So 1 over 2. So sine 30 be what? 1 over 2, which is half. Right, which is half. So sine 30 is half. Also, we said cos 60 is also half. So sine 30 is equals to cos 60, which are both half. Right. Now let's find cos 30 now. Let's find cos 30. So cos 30, cos is what? Adjacent over hypotenuse. Cos is adjacent over hypotenuse. What's adjacent here? Cos 30, these are 30, these are angle. Automatically, this will be our adjacent. So cos 30 will be what? Adjacent, root 3 over hypotenuse 2. So cos 30 will be what? Root 3 over 2. So when you punch down your calculator, cos 30 is going to come as root 3 over 2. Okay. And then remember, we're saying what? Sine 60 is also root 3 over 2. So basically, sine 60 and cos 30 are equal. Sine 60 and Sine 60 is root 3 over 2. Cos 30 is what? Root 3 over 2. Okay, right. So basically, we're saying sine 30 is half and it's equal to cos 60. But cos 30 is equal to sine 60. Okay, so let's get that. That you're going to look at in our other lessons. Now, what about tan 30 now? What about tan 30 degree? So tan 30 degree, tan is opposite over adjacent. So tan 30 will be opposite 1 over adjacent root 3. So tan 30 will be what? 1 over root 3. That'll be your tan 30 because tan is here, our angle is here, these are opposite 1, and our adjacent is what? Root 3. So our tan 30 is what? 1 over root 3. Okay. But in your calculator, when you punch tan 30, you're going to have it as root 3 over 3. So don't be surprised when you punch tan 30 on your calculator, you're going to get root 3 over 3. But here we're saying our tan 30 is 1 over root 3 because opposite here is 1, adjacent is here is root 3. We're saying tan 30 is 1 over root 3. But on your calculator, don't be surprised to see root 3 over 3. So what has been done is basically rationalization, meaning in sorts, we usually don't want a sort as a denominator. So once a sort comes as a denominator, what do? We rationalize. So we're saying that in our calculation here, our tan 30 is 1 over root 3. But if you punch your calculator, tan 30, you're going to come as root 3 over 3. So it's basically the same thing. So it's the same thing. So what really happened there was just the rationalization, okay? But basically the same thing, which you can use in your calculation, okay? So that is our special angles of 30 and of 60. All right. Now let's go to the next slide where we talk about the one of 45. So special angle 45 degrees. So if you have 45 degrees now, what is sine 45? What is cos 45? What is tan 45 without your calculator? If you need to do sine 45, cos 45, tan 45 without your calculator, what is the value? So we say you have to memorize this other triangle for special angle 45. So to get it, draw your triangle, a rectangle triangle. You're going to have 1, 1, root 2. So this side is 1, there is also 1, then this hypotenuse side is root 2. Okay, and then if you try to use Pythagoras, as we did say yesterday, that Pythagoras we use for right angle triangle. That in Pythagoras, the square of the hypotenuse equals to the square of the sum of the two sides. So 1 squared is 1, 1 squared is 1, 1 plus 1 is 2. So hypotenuse will be the square root of 2, which is this. All right, so this is correct basically. So now we say now to find sine 45. So sine 45 will be what? Opposite over hypotenuse. Remember, sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So sine 45, this is 45 degree. There is the opposite. 1 over root 2. 1 over root 2 is your sine 45. On your calculator, it's going to come as root 2 over 2. So also, it's all about rationalization. So which is still correct. So sine 45 basically is 1 over root 2. Okay. And then if you need cos 45, cos 45, cos is adjacent. Taking this as your angle 45, cos is adjacent, will be adjacent, and adjacent will be what? 1. Because we are opposite. So adjacent is 1, hypotenuse is what? Root 2. So cos 45 will be 1 over root 2. Adjacent over hypotenuse, 1 over root 2. Okay, so sine 45 is 1 over root 2. Cos 45 is 1 over root 2. Okay, so in our subsequent class, we're going to see how these things are coming like that. How come sine 45 is equal to cos 45? So we're going to look at all these things in our subsequent class. Right. So if you need tan 45 now, you need to find tan 45. Right. So tan 45 will be what? Opposite. Tan is opposite over adjacent. So 1. Opposite is 1. Adjacent is 1. So tan 45 is 1 over 1, which is equals to 1. Okay. So tan 45 is equals to 1 over 1, which is equals to 1. All right. Okay. So that's tan 45. Now, so let's go on the next slide. Let's see. Now, calculate the following without using calculator. So how do you find the value of this without using calculator? For example, calculate the following without using calculator. Find sin 30 plus cos 60 without calculator. B, find tan 60 minus cos 30 without using calculator. So you're going to get questions of this nature. So once you have to do sin 30 plus cos 60 without using calculator, what do? Immediately you refer to your special angles triangle. So go and look for your sin 30. Sin 30, within sin 30 will be what? Half. We did say that sin 30 will be half. Your cos 60 is also what? Half. So check on your triangle. Sin 30 is half. Cos 60 is also what? Half. And they're going to say half plus half can get what? 1. Okay. So that means what? Our sin 30 plus cos 60 give us what? 1. Hope you understand. Right. So how do you find sin 60 minus cos 30? Sin 60 minus cos 30. So what is tan 60? You go and refer back to the triangle. Tan 60 is what again? Tan 60 again is what? Tan 60. Tan is opposite over adjacent. So tan 60 be what? Opposite. Opposite. Root 3 over adjacent 1. So tan 60 is what? Root 3 over 1, which is same thing as root 3. So tan 60 is what? Root 3 over 1, which is root 3. Okay. Okay. And then what is cos 30? So what is cos 30? So you go back to the same triangle. What is your cos 30? Your cos 30 now, looking at this now, cos 30 is what? Adjacent over hypotenuse. So this is our 30 degree. So adjacent is what? Root 3 over 2. So cos 30 is root 3 over 2. So then you can now, you take that. So what we say is you need to learn this triangle offhand. You need to learn this triangle offhand. So whenever you need such angles, such values, you immediately refer to it. It's always advisable to memorize it. And in case you don't want to confuse, in your question, in your exam paper, just quickly, draw it, label it, and then can use it without confusing. Okay, right. So now trying to solve that question again. Tan 60 minus cos 30 now. So you plug in your find value of tan 60. Find the value of your tan 60. You find your value of your tan 60. Tan 60 be what? Root 3 over 1. Find the value of your cos 30. Cos 30 be what? Root 3 over 2. And then you can now subtract. Okay, you subtract. How are you going to subtract? You take them to the same denominator. Take them to the same denominator. This is 1, this is 2. So multiply your 1 by 2, multiply this by 2, so that you can have the same denominator of 2. So we're going to have a 2 root 3 over 2. So multiply the same by 2, so we're going to have 2 root 3 over 2 minus root 3 over 2. And then you simplify this by taking one of your common denominators, 2, and then you're going to have what? 2 root 3 minus root 3 over 2. So 2 root 3 minus 1 root 3. So 2 root 3 minus 1 root 3 will be what? 1 root 3 over 2. So basically your tan 60 minus cos 30 is what? Root 3 over 2. All right. So these are some of the some of the questions you can come across. So next class we'll be looking at, next class we'll be looking at other aspect of trigonometry. So, but this one is just a take-home work. It's just something to take home, something to think about. That's a takeaway message that says that Michael attempt to solve the equation. Michael attempt to solve this equation. Okay. Michael attempt to solve this equation. All right. Right. So identifying the error made by Michael in line 1 and 2, and then provide the correct solution. So this is a question on its own. Now Michael attempt to solve this equation, 2 cos 4 theta plus 20 equals 0.8. Now identify what error were made by Michael in line 1 and 2, and then provide the correct solution. So this is a question on its own, solved by someone, but it was wrongly solved. So your job, what you need to do now is to find out what is wrong and then you fix it. So that is your what you can take it down, and then you can see that as your homework. Okay, and then we'll carry on from there next class. So next class now, Next class, we'll be looking at special angles, more complicated question on special angles. We're going to see more expanded past paper question on special angles, so that we have what more we have more understanding of it, because there could be more complicated question when it comes to trigonometry. And trigonometry is one of your paper 2, one of your topic in paper 2 that has a lot of marks. So you're going to see more complicated questions, and then we can provide solution to it. Thank you for attending the class, and enjoy the rest of your day.